Welcome to Red, White, and Blue. From the right, I'm Gary Polland.
And from the left, I'm David Jones.
Tonight we're welcoming 3 new Houston City Council members. First, Larry Green of District K. Next, Jack Christie, who is at large position 5. And finally, last but not least, Andrew C. Burks Jr. at large position 2. Welcome.
Thank you.
And welcome to our new set. I hope you like
Beautiful
it.
set. Beautiful set.
Very nice. Very nice.
You guys have been around City Council now for 60 days. You know, obviously, where the chairs are. Larry Green, you come from a new district. So you have probably more to learn than anyone else, especially these 2 old-timers here, Christie and Burks. So why don't you tell us what you've picked up in the last 60 days and what you're struggling with?
Sure. First of all, thank you for inviting me. It's been exciting. It's been an exciting time at City Hall. District K is a unique district. It's a new district. It's a compilation of the old District C and the old District D. And so we, quite frankly, have had to build our own database, if you will, because of the joining of the 2 districts. But, you know, we have hit the ground running. We have gone out and met with all of our communities and developed a strategic plan for each community around the district. And so we're very excited at our progress and looking forward to really taking care of our neighborhoods.
What are some neighborhoods so that people get an idea about where your district is?
Sure, it's the Braes Oaks area, formerly Fondren Southwest area. We have Hiram Clark. We have Westbury. We have Fort Bend County, Houston. We have Willow Meadow, also the Stella Link area and the Reliance Stadium area. So we have a really broad and diverse district.
So, Jack Christie, you're here on City Council. You were after a City Council position before. Is it everything you thought it would be, or is this your last term?
No, it's everything and more, and I love every minute of it. You know, it's amazing that you put in 50 hours plus a week, and it's just enjoyable. So when it's like that, you don't even get tired. So,
what worries you, Jack, about the job that is ahead for you as a City Council member?
I think the biggest challenge we have to face are some unsustainable costs that will in the future. And it seems like for almost 4 administrations, it's been kicked down the road, the paying the debt that we owe as a city. And I just think that's going to be our biggest challenge. I truly believe that, because this city's on a roll. And it's going to be, if not the greatest city in the United States, it's right there near the top. But we've got to be able to be fiscally responsible to lead that city.
So Andrew C. Burks Jr., he gets to tell us, because this is, you grabbed some headlines right after you got the job. Apparently you told another council member that you were in support of their position, that they, if they wanted to vote against something that was going to be implemented in another council member's district, well, by gosh, that's okay. That's what we're here for. You had to have picked up a little grief for supporting a council member publicly who was doing that, didn't you?
Not one phone call. Not one phone call.
So is it the case with you, Mr. Burks, that sort of the commissioner's court model of basically log rolling, whatever is good for that district, I have to leave alone, even though it's bad for the city, it's going to happen because it's not my job?
Well, first of all, we must remember I'm at large. It's the entire city I represent and everyone in it. When a district council member has something on the agenda, who am I to take away from that district? Our job as at-large council members is to help everyone in the city, and that's how we do it through our council members. You won't hear me or see me tagging too many things when it comes down to helping a district improve its quality of life, let's say, the repair streets or things of that nature. That you won't see me tagging anything like that, because the reason is that improves the quality of life for the area. And even though someone else may want to stop it, that's their prerogative, because the voters sent them there to do a job. And who am I to say you're doing wrong or you're doing right? I'm just going to stay in my lane and work for the citizens of Houston.
Jack, you had mentioned, and I want to, of course, hear from Councilmember Green and Councilmember Burks about unsustainable programs. I want to hear more about that. Are there any programs that the City of Houston is now funding that should be zeroed out and closed, that have no place for the city to be involved in?
Well, I don't know if there's any departments that need zeroing out. We just have to plan to be able to pay as you go and also sustain the promises we made to the police, the fire, and the municipal employees, and to medical benefits in the future for retirees and present employees. And in those 4 categories, we cannot sustain it.
Well, Councilmember Green, do you think that we have the political will on this council to make the tough decisions to ensure that the city remains fiscally responsible in the area of pensions and runaway health costs?
I do. I think that we all, and while we are, it was just an article in today's paper regarding sales tax revenue being up. But, obviously we can't rest on those revenues because they fluctuate. I think there is the political will on council. We all know something has to be done with regard to our pension system. The question is how we attack it, and so whether or not it's some sort of compilation of a hybrid / pension system that gets us to where we need to be, whether or not there is that we go to the same type of 1K type system, how we move forward, whatever that may be. We have to really sit down and figure out the best way to get there, but something has to be done, and I think the political will around council is that we're going to have to act.
Councilmember Burks, one of the ideas that's out there to take care of the budget deficit the city still faces, $40 million I think was the estimate for this next fiscal year, is what I call the Buffett-Jones idea, which is raise taxes on the rich. That's people who own property and make over $30,000 a year.
Oh, that's the rich.
Well, it's if you own property in David's world, you're paying too little in property taxes.
Oh, my Lord. Okay, well.
So, what do you think of that idea?
No. It's dead in the water. We're going to tag it, and then we're going to bury it.
You ever heard about a progressive property tax tied to the value of a home? Such as Gary, who's got his home is worth $500,000. Shouldn't he pay a higher property tax rate? He's got a value that's there. As against someone else with a $85,000 house, lower theirs to 30 cents. Make him pay 90. What's wrong with that?
It's progressive.
Unfair. It's unfair.
Right?
It's progressive already.
That's too progressive.
The more it's worth, the tax rate goes up with the worth of the house. So he automatically pays enormous amounts. So
well,
that's
he's in Bel Air.
Yeah, but I also pay my taxes every year.
He's in Bel Air.
Every year on time. I'm a good citizen.
But, this council that we have now is capable, and I know that we are dedicated. I know I came in with 7 new people. Got in a little talk about the Magnificent Seven there. We use that name. One of the mayor's staff members named us that. But we understand exactly what the problems are, and we are not afraid to tackle them. We're not going to push this off on someone else or another administration at all, Gary. What we have a problem in Houston with right now is collection of funds or monies that are owed to us now. We are not collecting on it. And what has happened is, and I believe it was yesterday, guys, I believe I mentioned this, that here we are with $1 billion or $900 million of monies uncollected. And if we were to collect on that, we'd be in great shape.
Well, here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you get your congressmen and senators to pass a federal law that lets you start attaching tax refunds coming to people who owe the city money like the federal government's able to do now?
Well, something to think about, something to consider.
Some way to get money collected.
Well, Peter Brown wrote an article or a letter to the editor recently. He basically said, you guys have to work with the mayor of Houston, otherwise you get nothing done. So let's address Mr. Brown's concern, which is he had identified it as basically the city there's no vision. There's no vision to support inner city job creation. All of that which anybody brags about, whether it be the Chamber of Commerce crowd or the mayor, is all outside of Loop 610. There's no concentration of effort to... Larry, you seem to get where I'm going, so I'll stop.
Definitely. Essentially, and that's the challenge we have, especially as a district council member whose district is within the Beltway and also 610. We always hear about the donut. We never hear about the donut hole, the sugarlands, the pearlands, the woodlands. What is the strategic plan for within the city? What is the economic development plan where we sustain the core as well as bring forth not only jobs, but also the retail, the economic development for the inner city to drive that. And so I personally will be working with hopefully the partnership and others so that we can develop that type of plan. You've seen management districts that have sprouted up around the city, and a lot of that is because you're putting in place mechanisms to drive economic activity in those particular areas. And so because there really has not been an overall focus by the city. And so if we have to do it via management districts, TERS or other economic engines to really spur that economic growth, we need to move forward with that. But you're absolutely right. There's not a plan that talks about the donut hole, and I'm very concerned about that.
One of the things that has been talked about as a way for the city and the county, for that matter, to save money is to start consolidating functions where they overlap. Do you see, any of you see that as going forward aggressively in the next 2 years?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a couple of the council members and I are going to meet with Commissioner's Court and the county judge, because there had been some bridges burned in the past and senseless things. But you're talking about security, sheriff's department, police department. There should be unity there. There should be in the parks, maintenance and development, and a couple of areas where libraries, we can save money by being together. And you got good Commissioner's Court. I mean, there's good people on it. And so if you just bring everybody together and say, how can we save the taxpayers' money on county taxes and city, it can be done, because I think we're, just like Councilman member here said, that we're at a serendipitous moment to where if everyone will hold their ground and not worry about re-election, the mayor and the city council, we can solve long-term debt, we can solve fiscal conservative ideas on county and city issues together, and but it's the idea is when the political pressure is on, can we hold our ground and do what's best for the city long term?
And I guess, Councilman Burks, the question that Councilman Christie raised was, is this council different than some of the councils we've had in the past? Because in the past, quite frankly, we've had a number of members of council, not a lot, but a handful that I call bomb throwers, that they're interested in getting publicity, they're interested in getting in front of a camera, they're interested in demagoguing as opposed to being responsible leaders in solving the problems. Do you detect, with the Magnificent Seven, with the whole group that you're now with, do you think that this is a little different council than what we've had in the past?
This is a very much so different council. This is a council that's made up of veterans, myself, Veteran Affairs. If you remember the mayor's inaugural speech, she talked about working on veterans issues, small business issues. She spoke of that. She spoke of international trade and things of that nature there. We're working on that right now. My office is. We have the largest veteran population in the United States right here in Houston, Texas. And I agree with Jack. We need more interlocal agreements with the county, also with the school districts around the city, where we have the federal dollars coming in for after-school programs, working to get our children, have our children doing something, because our mind is the devil's workplace. And so we have to begin to do those things. Small business development. We have a plan now that we're working on to be able, since I'm elected now, thank God, that we can now work on increasing the number of small businesses and improving those that are out there.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Burks, or are you a full-time council member?
For a living, I am a telephone communication president of a company, and I work more at council than I do at my business.
How about you, Mr. Christie? What do you do for a living?
I'm a chiropractic physician. I've had 20,000 patients over the many years, and but I love public service. So
Today, you know how he won. He had all his patients were happy, and they voted for him.
All those sore back people.
That's right.
How about you, Mr. Green? What do you do?
I'm CEO of Houston Works USA. Houston Works is a workforce development nonprofit organization.
So who's running it while with you busy as on council?
We're running them both. We're making it happen, and I have a great staff, both at council as well as at Houston Works, and we're putting Houstonians to work
And
every day.
it's an interesting question for our viewers that they hear city council's a part-time job. We've just heard from the three of you. It doesn't sound like any of you are working part-time.
I put in 50 hours last week, and it'll be 50 hours plus. But when you love it, I mean, I truly enjoy public service. When you love it, it's fun.
He's absolutely right. Going into the neighborhoods, going to those civic club meetings in the evening, really hashing out and talking about the issues and how we solve the issues, and actually bringing a new perspective to neighborhoods that perhaps they hadn't thought about. I mean, I just get a charge by having the opportunity to do that.
Well, let me challenge you in this, Mr. Burks, and all, and your other two council members. No one voted in the last election. 57,000 people, as I recall, were in a runoff vote for in your two races. I mean, I don't know. You probably should be worried about getting reelected because there's just a lot of people who don't care enough to even know who you are. It seems to me like you, Jack, Christie, you, Mr. Burks, are going to have to be really concerned about this electorate that is, people say, mad and, in some sense, disengaged.
Let me say something. I'm not concerned about re-election. What I'm concerned is what I do today, because that's all what counts. Now, what I do today and every day is I go to work with a happy smile on my face, and I'm very serious. I just told my staff that we're going to be here till 10 o'clock every night next week because we're going to begin to work on budget, look for ways to recoup revenues, and at the same time, look for ways to assist our district council members and get the departments. See, this is the problem in our city. Our departments don't talk to each other. And so we're going to have to work together cohesively. Another thing, too, is, as I was talking about interlocal agreements earlier with you, with the different entities, the different governmental entities we have in Houston, once we begin to do that and understand we're all in this ship together here, we can put away the politicizing of the whole thing and begin to work as a community in which Houston is so well known all across this nation. Jack said it right. We're going to be the best city in this nation. When we finish office, if they want to set me down and send me home, I can guarantee you I can feel comfortable sitting at home because whoever came behind me is better off than what it was when I got there because I made it so.
David, that's a good point that you had, but you look at governments, city, state, and federal, and when there's not a big, horrendous, controversial issue, people say, it's going well. Previous administration, this administration, they're relatively happy. Unlike the federal government, to where people are getting mad, and their popularity is, and they are voting in large numbers, which is good. But I would like to excite the electorate saying that we have a long-term plan, that we have a 20-year plan, a 50-year plan. But the problem with that is some people are just elected for 6 years, and you're not beyond the next election. We ought to reconsider maybe longer terms, and or if you want a fourth term, get 60% of the vote.
So where's the leadership layer agreeing to change the term limit law so that we can have some talent on city council and have that talent stay there for a while to accomplish some things?
Sure. Not certain where that leadership is coming from with regard to term limits or altering the term limits. I do agree with Jack that, running every other year, you're always in campaign mode, and so it makes it very challenging to actually create policy and legislate. But, at the end of the day, that's the system we're working with, and, we have to move forward.
I was going to ask a question that's related to that, and that's this. Do you think, given that you have a 2-year term, and so you're into office, you'll start running again in a year or so, does that give you enough time to be effective in your first term?
Well,
for example?
what we're trying to do now is really manage our time and manage it well. We met with Assistant Director of the Finance Department this morning, had a little emergency meeting, we call it. We went over a number of things, make sure we had our numbers correct, so that now in 6 months, I'm giving myself, in 6 months, well, actually in 5 months, we'll have a budget and we'll have to balance it. So we have to work hard right now to do that. But we have to do it in such a way as to what Jack is saying, that people can understand what we're doing. I want to encourage more voter participation. I want that. We need to have that in Houston where they know more about what's going on in the city and they participate. However, to get them to that point, people have to start feeling good. Politics is local. And if they aren't participating locally in Houston, Texas, you can imagine what it's going to be like on the state and the national level. So we have to do our job locally and excite our local, our citizens here, that we're here for them. Now, I'm going to support all of my district council members. I'm going to definitely support them.
We appreciate that.
Yeah, really?
Thank you very much. I'm going to support them because they represent the entire city. So here at that point, knowing this, and I think that this council is ready to do that. It's going to be a little different. It's a
Now,
different
what about term limits? Do you think that the voters should be given an opportunity to change the term limit laws and go to
always
3
believe.
4-year terms, 2 4-year terms? I mean, whatever the change would be, and you let the voters decide.
And I like that because we need more time to do the work. There has to be more time to do the work. You work hard for 1 year, and then all of a sudden you go into campaign mode. That means somebody's going to be left off. Somebody's left out. And some of these processes, give you one last example here. The state legislature has a lot to do with what we do. If we are doing something, let's say we need to have a certain law passed where we can get revenues from a source, the state has to give us that permission. If the state does not meet but once every 2 years, we have to wait.
Mr. Green, he's talking about revenues. First time anyone's used the word revenue on the panel here. Yes. How is it that you survive as a council member in a district that has a lot of low-income voters, African-American voters? They're depending upon services that all I hear about is Jack Christie and Mr. Burks think somehow or another we need to be cutting. While the wealthy people in the lands surrounding you get a free ride as far as paying anything to the city of Houston.
David was in a different show than you.
Are you comfortable about that?
I am.
Poverty rate, Mr. Christie is 3% in all the lands, Pearland, woodlands. In Houston is 22%. So you cut services, you are going to be making somebody mad.
Nobody's cut services yet.
You want to, though.
No.
When did I say that?
No.
Zeroing out programs. I mean, that's to me, it sounds like services.
No one said that. No.
I thought you wanted to balance the budget and you wanted to
not on the backs of the poor, no. Okay. We never said that.
All right, Mr. Green, I yield to you then.
Yeah, exactly. I think from my perspective, I have to actually do an analysis of the budget, find out where we are, where there is some excess, and if there is excess, come up with a way to really cut. But at the end of the day, we have city services that we have right now that were not coming to our area. Our area was not receiving its fair share of city resources. And so my objective is to use what we have to make sure that we're able to bring those resources to our area. Give an example. We had a pool, a park, Linkwood Park. Again, the lights were off. The playground equipment hadn't been painted. The surface hadn't been painted. We have lights sitting in warehouses. We have paint sitting in warehouses that, So I pick up the phone, call Joe Turner, and, he's right on it. He's getting the lights out of the warehouse and putting them up. Things that are funded, that are already funded, that we have that just requires a little attention. I want to make sure we're able to do that for our residents in District K.
Communications. Very good.
Communications.
And you just got 2 more votes here, it seems to me.
Okay, let's talk about the mayor. Y'all getting along with the mayor? Do you think that you can work with her in moving the city forward in line with the visions you all have expressed today?
Oh, yeah, I have no problem working with her. I know that she's a mayor that listens, and she wants to know. She is very concerned about the state of our city right now, and she's made it clear to me that she's looking forward for my help, and I'm going to give her everything we can do to make this city a better place. And so I don't have any problems working with her. Matter of fact, when I need something and I have to, staff will call her, it's right there.
Very good.
And I noticed that Jack Christie is going to be invited to talk to Commissioner's Court. I don't imagine you're taking the mayor with you. So how is she getting along as far as the broader community, Jack?
Boy, you're making some assumptions here, Dave, that I don't know where they came from. Actually, I was a little bit influenced to the county judge and the mayor had a lunch probably 10 days ago, and to work out a little problem that the press was embellishing, and it went very, very well. And so that's the first step. But I think we've got a good mayor that, like the previous mayor, they're very fiscally astute and approaching these. But the test of the mayor, and hopefully she has the city council on her side, is to solve the long-term fiscal responsibility of the city.
And that is the last
I was
word,
going to say, on
David.
that hopeful note, we have to thank you for being here on this,
Thanks.
the first appearance on a new set. Thank you, Larry Green, Jack
Thank
Christie,
you.
Andrew C. Burks, Jr.
you.
We invite you to visit our home online at HoustonPBS.org. Click on the local program bar, red, white, and blue. Read about our guests, watch the shows, and follow-up discussion. And until next time, get informed and get active.